The Aftermess.
Can we get a little round of applause for the Aftermess podcast, y'all?
Yes, sir.
I just like clap a round of applause. I see what you did there. All right, it's the Morning Mess. Joey boy.
Hey, it's JD.
And it's Sienna. And producer Jules.
There you go. All right, Morning Mess here, the Aftermess podcast. Make sure if you're enjoying these podcasts, I know we've been getting a lot. We were just talking to producer Disney here. You guys want them longer. Ayo. We're going to try to make them a little longer. Maybe we'll talk for 2 minutes longer today. But if you're enjoying it, make sure you share these podcasts. You like them. You subscribe. More importantly, subscribe to our podcast. So you get some notifications. So today, during the podcast, it stems from JD as we're done with Mother's Day, Father's Day, you know, the stepchild of the day for parents is coming up. But JD, you were already talking about Father's Day. And the topic, or I would say the title of this podcast for the Aftermess is going to be called Take It to the Grave. Okay, say it with me.
Take it to the grave.
Now, JD, with Father's Day coming up, you're getting close to your father, maybe some plans or what have you.
This sounded like a real therapy session. That was a real counseling thing to do right there.
Yeah, lay down and talk to us.
Yeah, let's lay down. No, I mean, I grew up, in case people didn't know, my parents are divorced. They got divorced when I was in second grade. Mm-hmm. So I was like 8?
7, 8.
Yeah, 7, 8. And my pops, he's always been around. I got to preface that because he wasn't as present in my life as he is now. He was like kind of moving around and things like that when I was probably from age 10 or 12 to maybe age like 20. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't count college, me moving here as that, but basically he just kind of he was moving around, he was bouncing in between some jobs and just wasn't really present in my life. You know, he wasn't a bad person. And I started within the last maybe 5 years as we're rebuilding our relationship of asking more questions of that time period, because I feel right now I'm more mature. I'm willing to not just accept those answers, but also not judge my dad based off of those answers, because I think you have to be ready for both.
Got you.
Because if you're going to ask those questions, you better be ready for the answers, because I feel, and you're a parent, so I'm sure there are plenty of mistakes that you have made.
Right.
That, I don't know, maybe you're scared that one of these days your children are going to ask you some questions.
Hence the title, Take It to the Grave. Do you want your parents to take some things to the grave and you don't want to know? Or do you want to know these things before, unfortunately, that's the way it's supposed to be. Your parents passed before you, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But do you want to take it to the grave, or do you want to know these things before you don't have your parents in your life anymore? Do you want to know everything, like everything? Because obviously you were raised by your mom for the most part.
Yeah.
Do you really want to know the answer?
I want to know everything.
Everything.
I want to know everything. And I also prefaced with my dad that I want him to not be biased. So even if he has information that would probably help his case, I'd rather just know his perspective.
Got you.
So that way I can just get his thought processes, and also just as a man, kind of like how he went about his life and kind of those qualities that I didn't get from a father necessarily being as present conversationally. I just have those natural questions, and I'm genuinely curious and just kind of like seeing what he was thinking about, what he was going through at the time, what troubles was he stumbling on,
right?
What mistakes he made as a parent. All just because I was curious, nothing crazy.
Now, you want to know everything before. You don't want him to take to the grave. I know my opinion on this is everybody on the opposite side of JD. Do you want your parents to take it to the grave and not want to know anything?
I know I do.
You do want to know or don't want to know?
I don't want to know.
Oh, so take it to the grave.
Yeah, so take it to the grave. So my life motto is ignore it and it'll go away.
It's not
the girly pop way. That's the girly pop way.
It's girl math. It'll work out how it's supposed to. So that's my life advice. No, my thing is I'm actually very close with my parents. We've talked about multiple times. I live with them and I tell them a lot of things, but I have never really asked about them. And I know their story of when they met, when they were kids, when they used to club and be my age. I know those general stories, but if there was anything messy in their relationship, if they had any issues, because my parents are not divorced. They have been together for 33, 34 years now. And I guess my question to JD before we came to me was, do you think finding these things out because you want to know everything will hinder your relationship with your dad or make you look at him a different way?
No, not at all. Because that's what I'm saying.
That's what you prefaced.
I have to be ready for that information.
Right.
And nobody's perfect. So I also go into it with an open mind, understanding whatever I am asking, I need to be prepared for because that's fair. In my opinion, if I'm going to ask some of that serious shit, if you're asking your parents why they got divorced, you're asking for some heavy information.
Your mom has never let you know that?
No, not really. Not to the extent that my dad has, because I've asked my dad more of those
Whose fault
questions.
Would you say?
I probably would rather not say for my own privacy.
But you know.
But I know.
You know.
Yeah.
But
or at
see-
least I have an idea.
Yeah, with that, because I'm like, if there was anything infidelity wise or whatever, I would hold that grudge. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to know. I'm not saying there was, but if there were, and I found that out because I asked, I don't think I have the mindset to just be like, okay, I asked, I'll get over it. I did this to myself. No, I would be mad and I would hold that grudge, whether it was my mom or my dad. I mean, my mom does no wrong in my eyes, but
It's Pandora's box. You're opening Pandora's box.
Exactly.
Well, here's my situation. I would want to know, like you, JD, I want to know everything before. I don't want them to take it to the grave. But my situation is I did find out I have a sister, and I just call her sister. Now, we have different moms. My dad literally had 2 women pregnant at the same time.
right.
So that still fucks with me to this day. Like, how did my mom stay with my dad?
Yeah.
Like, why? I love my dad, but like, why did you stay with him? Like, literally, me and my sister are 3-4 months a fucking part. Like, and they had a rough relationship. I grew up in a very hostile, as a child, seeing my parents fight and argue and break shit. And it was just, and I understand that now, as you were saying, you start as an adult, the trauma that I have from that, seeing that, hearing that, witnessing that, and then knowing that, wait, let me get this, and start to understand the math of like, wait, me and Keisha are, I was born in October, she was born in February. Dad had another girl pregnant at a young age, and thinking like, that's fucking weird.
It's crazy to me that you had to like almost like do the math yourself. Like, I just feel like it's so obvious that it's weird that they didn't just talk about that openly. But
Well, she was raised in Philly. I was raised in LA.
Got it.
And now she's dealing with her trauma, not being raised by my dad, like the definition of daddy issues.
Yeah.
And the animosity I built throughout the years of my dad of like, man, you treated my mom like fucking shit. Like, and then asking my mom, I haven't asked my mom, like, why did you stay with dad after all this? My dad must have, I don't know, a big dick or something. I don't know why she stood with him.
No, I feel you guys. I'm honestly like kind of in between like Joey and JD, like with my story, because my parents are also divorced, but I have half siblings. But I have a gap of 13 years with my siblings. So my brother's 13 years older, my sister's 11 years older. So I came fairly late in life. We all have the same mom, but my mom had me when she was 40. So there was a lot going on. Yeah, damn, is right. So, and you know, it's funny. She was just visiting this weekend and she told me that it was kind of like embarrassing for her at the time, which was like almost like a knife to the chest a little bit. But I was like, I understand.
You were a happy accident.
I was a happy accident. Yes. So, but just kind of like with the relationship thing though, like I lived with my mom full time. I only saw my dad every other weekend and on Wednesdays from 4 to 7, and that was it. And then when I was 13, my mom moved me 3,000 miles across the country from New Hampshire to Arizona. So for the past 12 years of my life, I have not lived anywhere near my dad, and I've only ever seen him once, 2 times a year. So
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I never get the whole
it's fucking
dad
crazy.
seeing their kids every
So,
other weekend.
right.
Did you say 3 times a year?
Maybe there was even a time
Yeah.
where I
I can
went
relate
like
to
a
that,
whole
yeah.
year without even seeing him,
That's
and it was
wild
really, it's
to
really
me.
hard. It's extremely hard to maintain a relationship. Same with my siblings.
Are you good with him now?
I have never been close. We've never been closer.
Oh, good.
Honestly,
So kind of like
Okay.
JD's situation then.
Exactly.
You're getting
Yeah.
close to you think that
Right.
just comes in age as you get older?
I think it does, and I think it just comes with maturity as
Right.
well, and just being able to like
you forgive, but you
have
don't
that.
forget.
100%, because there was a lot of shit that I had to go through, and like honestly, my dad did not want me to go. Like my mom and my dad hate each other. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna air that laundry out. But there was 11 years of court documents back and forth. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 3 months old. Basically, dad put a ring on it because mom was pregnant.
Right.
You know, they tried.
That never works, by the way.
It never works.
Listen, that doesn't work for you guys, or you think you're going to get married just because they got pregnant. It doesn't work. Don't do that.
But there's so much shit that, like, I know went down that I don't know if I want to know about. And, like, same with my siblings. Like, my dad was their stepfather for a little while, which is really weird to think about because I'm like, that's not their dad. And they, you know, have a viewpoint of my dad. It's very different than what I think as well.
Let me ask a question. So you were raised by your mom. You being a girl, I think it's very important that, you know, girls have their mom. But you not having that dad there, how important was that to you after the fact of thinking like, fuck, some of these issues I might have in life because I didn't have that male presence? Yeah. Do you hold resentment towards that as you are a man now? You're like, man, well, if I had a father figure there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And right? I remember trying out for baseball. I mean, you guys know I'm a naturally born gifted athlete, right? So
Here we go.
Did you know that, Sienna?
Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't know that, but I'm sure he's going to remind us.
So it's kind of like whatever sport I play, I'm great at. So in this case, it was baseball. And I specifically remember kind of being talked up as I was growing up, just being, I don't know, like I just was a good baseball player. And I remember in high school, I went to try out for the high school team. And I remember the coach at the time for the high school, he killed me. Like he was like ripping into form and all of this shit. And I remember going home and being like, fuck baseball, because I never really been challenged. And so I hold some resentment for my dad not being there to be like, hey, you need to man up. He's trying to make you better.
Right.
Like trying to have some of that resistance where I wasn't getting nurtured.
You feel like you were getting coddled by mom and maybe that wasn't her field.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, my mom was always heavily involved, but she's not in the sports world where you kind of need a little bit of tough love or be like, hey, you're not as good as you think you are. And so, yeah, I hold some resentment as far as like, I think I could have stuck it out and played professional. I obviously decided on my own free will not to, but
turn his mic off.
Fucking guy. He's even holding his mic like, it's like a fucking baseball.
Yeah.
You ready, bro?
Yeah. No, I just
D-backs
feel
could use
It's like
you.
picturing your dad's face. You're like,
Oh my God.
He's going to go re-audition now that his dad's
been.
back.
3 grand slams by John D. Whitfield.
not a baseball name, man. I don't know what to tell you.
John Whitfield is a baseball name, though. Here's my situation with that. I had my parents stay together. They just celebrated a wedding anniversary. They've been together about 50 years together.
wow, good for them.
They've been together so fucking long, but I had a unpresent dad.
Yeah.
My dad is a musician. He was a musician his whole life. This past couple years, his health has declined, so he doesn't play anymore, but he was always on the road. And I had my aha moment. I don't know if you ever had an aha moment in life where you're like, wait. And it was like maybe 2 months ago with my sister. We had an aha moment together as she was telling me about her daddy issues and how she wasn't raised by my dad and she had to forgive him.
Yeah.
And she loves my dad very, very much. And I realized that I had the same kind of feelings that she did. I was like, but Keisha, I was like, you know what? He was here. He raised me, but he was gone like 250 to 300 days out of the year every year because he was touring the world with a Latin jazz Grammy Award winning band. And he was just partying with his bandmates throughout the fucking world. And I remember seeing his, back in the days, they didn't have your iPhone. So he would write on the calendar. And I'm like, I thought I had the coolest dad ever. We're like, wow, he's going to Thailand, then France, then Denmark, and Hawaii. And my dad traveled. And this went on 15 years.
And who knows what the hell he was doing while he was doing it.
That's another thing that I would want to fucking know, to be honest with you.
Would you want to know all that shit?
I would. I would want to know, do I have a fucking sibling called Isabella Rodriguez in fucking Thailand?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You never know.
I feel like my dad impregnated another woman. Like, he got a woman pregnant in Philly. I'm sure I probably have... Japanese, half Puerto Rican.
Get on that.
Do you think he knows that though?
He might not.
Yeah.
My dad was crazy. And that was actually his nickname. He has it tattooed on him.
Crazy.
His name was Crazy. My dad was fucking crazy. He was a raging drinker, smoker, partier. He lived a rock lifestyle. So I would want to know the stories. Like, Dad, do I have any other siblings out there? Like, I want to know. But it goes to show that sometimes you have a present parents, sometimes they're not present.
Right. And like that's kind of how that's weird because like that's how my dad and I's relationship kind of always had to be because I've never lived with him full time. He never really necessarily had to be the parent, which I feel bad for my mom sometimes because she kind of had to be both of everything all the time. She had to be the disciplinary. She had to do everything. So, but when I went to my dad's house, he didn't want to do that to me because he's like, you're here for 2 days every other weekend. I'm not going to, put you in timeout. I want to hang out with you and have a good time. But that means we had some pretty crazy conversations at a very young age because, he wanted to just treat me as a person and treat me as a friend and some of that stuff I was like, was I necessarily ready to have that conversation? Maybe, maybe not. Because I remember before I moved to Arizona, which, I told him I wanted to go, he sat down with me and I think he like almost felt this need to like have all the conversations like he wants to have with me throughout my high school years and everything and just get it all out. And I remember I was 13 years old. I was in 8th grade. And he's like, all right, you're going to get to high school. There's going to be marijuana, alcohol, cocaine, sex, everything. He's like, be ready. And I'm like, I don't what? I was like, I like just had my first kiss.
Did you find my stash?
I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, but he made it always just abundantly clear to me that like if I ever experimented with anything, tried anything, felt nervous about anything, like call him and tell him about it.
With your mom being raised by a single mom, did you growing up have the birds and bees talk with your mom, the sex talk?
No,
you didn't.
No.
So you had to just find out.
I haven't
all by
even had it
yourself.
with my dad either.
Yeah,
Really?
I didn't have it with either of my parents. They just let me figure that shit out on my own.
Oh, I 100% did.
With your mom?
I was asking about that shit when I was like 6. I was like, what is going on here? And she told me. And I was like, okay.
Well, this is a penis, this is a vagina. And
100%.
wow.
Yeah.
My daughter's 7. I'm not ready to have that fucking talk.
Oh, absolutely not. I remember when she told me what a blowjob was.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Jeez.
She told you what a blowjob?
She told me what a blowjob was, and I was just like, how could anybody ever
I would never
that?
stick a dick in my mouth.
I was so disgusted by that fact. It was crazy. But like, yeah.
Wait, I want to ask the question.
I
Do I ask the
I
question?
already know. You've already opened the box.
Do not ask
I gotta ask the question. Can I ask the question? I don't think it's what you think.
All right. I hope not.
How old were you?
I was pretty young. I think I was like maybe like 9 or 10.
No, that's too young.
But I was openly asking her about these things.
You asked her
Yes, I wanted
what a
to know.
blowjob was?
But she didn't deflect. Like some parents will just be like, play it off, and then when you get a little older.
That is the biggest problem with both of my parents. No filter. Don't give a shit. They don't. If I'm asking,
I
they're
don't have
telling.
a filter per se in life. I think if my 9-year-old daughter is like, what's a blowjob? I'm like, oh, you must be a blow pop. It's a lollipop.
Well,
you have a dad
exactly. Like you
filter.
deflect, and then once they get
you
to
have
that
you have a
age.
dad
Right.
filter. Like
Yeah.
with as
Yeah.
real of a conversation as you would have. You have a filter. Like you have the pop filter.
Yeah.
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 know.
See, my dad probably wouldn't have sat down and had that conversation.
I
with
feel
me,
like parents,
but-
some parents overshare with their kids, man. I
They
see it
do.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to people that overshare with their kids, like you're the parent first, friend second.
Mm-hmm.
And parents, what I see, they try to be their kids' friends. No, you're their fucking parent first. There's certain things they should know about,
Mm-hmm.
and due time, you can have that conversation, but I'm gonna be honest. Having a conversation with what a blowjob is at 9, there's no way you have that.
But it was
fucking
more so like a part of the sex talk. It's like, okay,
and
you're
that
gonna.
too, like birds and bees.
It was a lecture of the birds and bees, and she gave me the rundown.
Why did you ask? Did someone on the playground talk to you? Where did you?
Oh, hell
like a
yeah.
blowjob?
I also grew up in like an age where there was internet and YouTube and things like that. And, I feel like there was kids my age that were already kind of Googling and
I
researching
would throw the
and
fucking
finding
computer out
things
the window.
anyway.
Because my son Cruz is 9. If he's like, Dad, what's a blowjob? We're like, Jesus.
Go check Cruz's search history.
Yeah. It's fucking how I do that. It's all fucking Minecraft and shit. And
Ignore
how
it,
many
it'll go
yards
away.
did Tom Brady throw? Like, Cruz is such a sports nerd. Like,
Definitely.
oh, man, that would be tough. No, I appreciate your parents being honest with you.
Do you think it's like a kind of lost in translation thing of that line of them treating you as a friend, like you mentioned earlier? Because I feel like that's where they're so comfortable just being so straight up with you that they kind of just see you as that friend versus a daughter. You know what I'm
Totally.
saying?
I don't know if my mom necessarily saw it that way. My dad is like open, honest. Like he'll fucking tell me anything I want to know.
I think he's trying because he's missed out on so many years. He's trying to be your friend.
He always, and that's.
Don't do that.
Well, I don't know
Yeah.
though, because my dad and I we're already like past all that
Yeah, that's
shit,
good.
you know, like to today, like we're each other's like best friend. Like if he's like having a rough day, like I want him to call me and be able to vent, you know? So I like having that relationship with him. But I think also with my mom, you know, having kids that were 13 and 11 years old already, and then me just being born,
Right.
there was already this like aspect of like, she was fucking over being a parent. Like, if you think about it, she was a full-time mom for like 35 years straight, which is crazy. to
JD,
think
did you
about.
ever ask your mom the question like, "Hey, mom, what's a rim job?"
No.
Nothing like that.
No.
no, never, never. I would.
No.
Yeah,
No, never
That's
happened.
it never happened.
Yeah.
You had to figure out the birds and the bees on the playground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
That was pretty much the same for me. I mean, I remember I asked my brother because there was a kid on the playground. He said something about a BJ. He didn't say blowjob, but he said BJ. And then I went home and I asked my brother because I didn't want to ask my parents.
Right. You
So-
knew it might be bad.
I knew it might be bad, so I asked my brother, and he deflected. I can't remember what he said to this day, but I remember he didn't straight up say like, "This is what it is," and he didn't have the talk, so he also deflected. He had that parental
Oh
filter.
my God, yeah. If my little
Yeah.
sister
Yeah.
asked me that, I'd be like, "Mom,
Yeah.
you heard what he said?" I totally get her in
I
trouble.
need to bring that back up. I wonder if he remembers that, and he's probably still traumatized. Like, my little sister just asked me what a BJ
Wait,
was.
how old were you?
I was a little older. I think maybe 11 or 12, I think.
right.
Yeah, I wasn't 9. I mean, it's still pretty
He was
young.
like 14,
but
15?
Yeah, he's like 5 years older than me. So,
Oh, 5,
yeah,
okay.
he was in high school already by
Probably
then.
was looking forward to it. One.
He was ready for that to happen.
He was
Like,
looking at her
how
like,
do I get out of this?
I don't know. What is it?
Nah, my parents took that shit to their grave. They're like, I'm not going to be the first one to talk about it.
Yeah, I wish
Ever.
mine did.
Ever.
Yeah. If you ask them the question, like, "Oh no, that stuff we'll take to the grave."
Yeah. I'm pretty sure either one of them would be like, yeah, no, we're fine leaving that out of the equation.
They're like digging the grave. Like, nope, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, is there anything that's kind of off limits that you don't want to know? Because I know you guys are all open to knowing stuff, but is there something specific that you're like, actually, no, they
Yeah.
could take it to the grave?
Yeah, no, when I'm having these conversations with my dad, he goes, if you want to know, ask your mom. Like, you know, if he wants to like really say something, he'll be like, if you want to bring it up, go ahead and ask your mom.
Yeah.
But he'll just, like I said, he'll give me his side, and we're to go even deeper. Going back to something that you said, I'm asking a lot of these questions out of anger. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of the times I'm asking the
Closure.
closure,
Yeah.
being curious. But yeah, I'm kind of that sensation of like, hey, I really want to know like what the fuck happened, like what went down. And then
Yeah.
I'm starting to go even deeper than that and asking about my parents' parents. So I'm starting to ask more questions about both sides, my mom and my dad's side, about their families and their histories, because they were not perfect people.
Right.
Whereas I always thought my grandparents were like the sweetest, kindest. And my parents took that shit to their literal grave. And then once I started asking more questions, then they turned on them. I'm just kidding.
Oh, so you think?
Oh, so you think? Well, now that they're gone, yeah.
Yeah. See, that's crazy. It's crazy to me though that your dad's like, oh, just ask your mom, because like I feel like since my mom and my dad had a really bad relationship, I almost am like getting way too much information from both ends, and I have to navigate like what is the truth here. So it's almost like I'm like, everybody shut up on both sides, because I don't know what's the truth. Like, you know, my mom's talking shit about my dad's talking shit about my mom, and I'm over here like,
They're
what?
both lying. The truth is
They
in the middle.
are.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
And it's
I asked,
me.
yeah.
I am the truth.
Yeah.
I ask the questions to my dad that I know he can answer. I don't ask, you know what
That's
I mean?
fair. That's
Like,
fair.
I ask the
Smart.
questions that I believe
Yeah.
I can get your side on this. And then everything else, I'm not bringing up
Yeah.
on the other side because I don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
I do not want
I
to
probably
know.
don't want to know what my parents like in the bedroom. To be honest, I don't want to know.
That's
I
fair.
don't wanna know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know if my mom likes anal. There's just stuff like I don't.
Clearly, that's, yeah, you
I
got to
don't
ask.
want to know
yeah.
that stuff.
That's
I don't need to
fair.
know.
They could take that to the grave.
Yeah, thanks for answering that question. Yes, I appreciate my question was answered. Thank you, Joey.
I knew you had the question. I was like, that's the
you.
only thing. Everything else,
Yeah.
I want to find out. Like what? I do want to. I haven't asked these questions. Like, what drugs did you guys do?
Oh, I see. I know all that shit.
You know, like
Like,
those
I've
are stuff
already
like stuff
asked
that I
that.
don't know, like stuff that I assume.
Yeah.
That they did, like, well, and then just the stuff like, what was your first date, and like, I don't even know that's the simple things.
Yeah,
you
see, I know the simple things, but I don't want to know the salacious stuff.
You don't
Like,
wanna
if there
know.
is-
Yeah.
if
I
there is
do.
anything,
You
yeah.
don't know those sex things about.
No, I'm
mom.
good. I'm
No.
totally fine. Yeah, I'm totally good.
You and your mom are best friends.
Yeah. So again, like me and my mom, like she'll share stories about, because my mom and dad are kind of not high school, but middle school sweethearts. So they went to school together, the same school. They had like a crush on each other, whatever. Went to high school, went separate ways, and then they met back up in college-ish, and then that's when they had my brother. He's the oopsie of the two.
It's just really not any like tea to know.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's stuff because they were young parents, but again, I'm good. I don't really want to know anything.
You're the only one take everything to the grave.
If there's anything messy, because I don't want to look at them in a different light. They are just these.
I get it.
I don't even
look up to them.
I don't look at my dad any different.
But that's what I'm
based
saying.
on the
I don't think
information that I got.
I'm you. Like I don't think, and it's mature maybe is the word. I don't know that. Maybe I don't have that capacity.
Oh, he definitely had to deal with trauma than you did. Your trauma.
Absolutely.
Way different.
Yeah,
it's totally different.
Yeah,
it's totally different. Yeah, because you were raised with both parents, and your parents are great. We've met them, and they absolutely adore you. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it all just comes with time because I'm in like a weird middle ground right now, but I honestly do think like in a few years, like it'll be like more of like okay, I think I'm ready to ask these questions and these. And I feel like some stuff I don't even know what to ask.
And then your parents, when they get older, they don't give a fuck.
That's the phase that my parents are in
They don't
right
give
now,
a fuck.
for
They'll
sure.
tell you whatever. Hey, Dad, did you drop acid back in the day? Yeah. And I know like 20 years ago, he wouldn't have fucking answered that question. He wants to be perfect.
Yeah.
You don't want your kids to look at you a different way. So I think when you get older, like your grandparents and great grandparents, they don't fucking care.
Well, to be fair, I started asking questions in my 30s. In my 20s, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah,
I wasn't ready. There was too much building going on and too much repairing. And then once I felt like we got to a phase of like, all right, I'm over that shit. Like I forgave my father for like a lot of the things that went on. Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, now that we're past this point of no judgment, because I think you got to be ready to like I said before, you got to be ready to not judge whatever you're about to hear. And my dad's kicked some gangster ass shit. Yeah. So I'm
got some good stories out of it.
I got some amazing stories, and I wanted to know. I'm like, all right, it all like makes sense. Like,
would you get drunk with your dad?
He doesn't drink anymore. Yeah. So
I smoke a J with your dad.
If he was down, I mean, I don't do weed either. I'm pretty.
You do shrooms with your dad?
If my dad was down to do shrooms, I'd do shrooms. I think that'd be tight. I'd be down to explore some shit on some shrooms. Okay,
you and your dad connect. You do shrooms. What are you doing? Are you just chilling at the pad, or are you going out somewhere? Like,
oh no, I think we're
fishing or
no. I'd love to watching some kind of sport inside.
I feel like you two would have to stay inside. I feel like one of you would have you would trip out. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, or
no, all of those things. Yeah, no, we got to stay inside.
I could not do that.
Well, and a side tab to that, the more I'm asking those questions that I like, that would you take to the grave or not? He is also showing me his personality. Like I'm also seeing through those answers, like if my dad has a short temper, if he gets upset if you say this, or like where he's sensitive, like where he gets sensitive. So it's like, yeah, I think the mature part of asking those questions is also finding out how your parents like legit have lived their life.
Right.
Because they were both brought up in very religious households, 10 times the religiousness that I had to grow up in. Gotcha. So a lot of their decisions were formed based on that.
Interesting. As I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, God, I got a lot of questions to ask my dad.
I know. This is like making my brain collapse. Like I am like,
hey,
wow.
Are you doing like VIPs? Can we go to your shroom party with your dad?
I'll invite my dad.
Yeah.
Man, that would be a fucking trip, pun intended. That would be gangster, man.
Tripping balls with
I'd
that.
like to go to like Vegas or something. Like imagine being in the casino, because the only time I've done shrooms the right way.
Wait, there's a wrong way?
Yes, there's
What's
a
the wrong way.
Like microdosing when you don't, like when you think like, I thought I was just, smiling, having a good time. And that was not mushrooms. What I had that trip, that was mushrooms.
Okay.
Wait, what was the trip? I'm curious.
The trip, there were fucking Tetris going on in my head. Like I would like close my eyes and like shapes were popping out and shit. I was like, oh, this is bad. Like I couldn't sleep for hours.
But you would want to do that again with your dad?
Fuck yeah.
I could never. I literally would get so inside my head.
Same.
Because I like with the resentment shit and all that stuff, like there's a lot of resentment on both ends, and I'm finally just getting to a point where I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. They're people. You know what I mean? So I think
Jules is more of a Cabernet kind of girl. Like, I just want to do some Cabernet with my dad.
Don't
the
get too
charcuterie
wild.
board.
Yeah. I smoked joints with both of my parents. So whatever. That's about probably as far as I'd go.
Hey, big shout out to our white coworkers, Sienna. Yeah, y'all party, bro.
The white folk, yes, shrooms and all.
Oh,
Jesus,
man.
dude.
The more broken we are, the more deep we'll go.
I think I've had like a beer with my dad. It's about it.
Yeah, same. I just gotten like drunk with my parents. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'd smoke a big ass blunt with my dad. I
Yeah.
want to smoke a big blunt with my dad and just
It's
tell
kind
me.
of
I just
fucking
want
awesome.
stories right now. My dad's really sick. My dad's like end of fourth quarter, and I just never know. That's why you guys see me visiting LA a lot more, and I want every time I go down. I get at least 2 or 3 new stories that I didn't know about my dad, and it's fucking amazing. I'm just taking mental
You should
notes.
get him a journal.
Yeah.
I saw this. I think I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw some journal basically that your parents like almost like write you a book. Like there's prompts in it.
I seen that.
Yes, and
Oh,
they
that's
can
cool.
just.
Did you see that on
answer it.
Instagram?
I think so.
I think
but
it's an ad that you buy it. I just seen
It
that.
probably is. I
should buy
you
this
know, the
shit.
Instagram ads. They get me.
You're going to get them now.
Yeah.
You're going to get them ads now.
But there's
right.
prompts in it, and
Cover
they
your
can
ears.
answer, you know, as they're living their life. Like, as, like, you know, things pop in their head, and they're like, oh, shit, I remember this one story. I'm going to write this down.
Totally.
So when they do pass, you have this book of their life. and
Well, I
it's so
think the
cool.
book is they have questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is questions.
It's just questions, and then they just fill out the
Yeah.
answer. Now you have a book that I'm going to do
See,
that.
you
I'm
should do that
fucking
because I
doing
feel
that.
like your dad definitely seems a little bit more like
He has.
like,
My dad has
secluded and
crazy
likes to be, like,
fucking
yeah.
stories, like the craziest.
so much easier to
stories
write.
with celebrities and just high off his
That's so
ass
cool.
and stuff in other countries. Yeah, I like that.
Well, maybe you should start doing that for Gia and Cruz because you have crazy stories too.
Do
Yeah.
it. I don't realize the crazy stories that I say until I say them out loud, and everyone looks at me like that ain't true. And I'm
Right.
like, fuck, it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. All
But
right.
you're not going to be like, sit down with them one day and be like, okay, you ready? When I was 20, let's start there. Like, it's easier just to be like, oh, this happened. Let me jot that down.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Fun. How's everyone's therapy today?
it was really good.
Really good?
Mom,
Good.
Dad, love you. Sorry.
I can't wait for JD's shroom party, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
same.
I'd be so down. You guys know a dealer?
Idilla. I just met a guy on the show. We all met him. Idilla.
Well, here's the thing. I can trick my dad into doing it because he has.
No, we're
a-
not
no,
doing.
no,
We're not
no.
going to
Some
ditty your
placebo
dad.
effect
Yeah,
or
no,
what?
but he loves dessert, right? Big time. So if
doing
I
that.
give him chocolates,
Hey, JD Cosby, we're not doing that. You got to let him know.
no, I'll let him know
Consent,
after. Can I
JD.
give him?
It's
can I do it after?
2024.
Oh, you
know
know, what? Speaking of not remembering stories, I did do shrooms with my dad.
Nice.
I totally forgot about
Jesus.
this.
Oh, you
I have
white
a
people are
family. I have a
crazy.
family reunion every single year called the Boot and Bash, and it's
What the what?
yeah, it's,
What the why?
It's
Getting
amazing.
wider and
It's
wider.
amazing. But last year, one of my cousins basically came up to me and was like, "Yo, Julia, got some shrooms," and I was like, "Hook it the fuck up, let's go!" And I told my dad about it, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta like get me some of those a little bit later." And I was like, "Okay," but he didn't really want his girlfriend, wife. They call each other husband and wife, not married. Anyway, he's like,
Resentment.
"Yeah."
Did you see that?
Just a little trigger. No, I love
Fucking
her.
bitch, she's not my mom.
Terry
never
is
gonna call my
the best. Terry's been in my life for like
fire.
Terry's been in my life for 13 years. Love her. But anyway, so I remember I went and they were all sitting by the fire and she was sitting right next to him. And so I grabbed like a Nutter Butter and I put the shrooms in the Nutter Butter and I just like walked by and like slid it into his hands. But I remember
But he
I was
knew
like,
it was.
He knew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I
Guys, I don't condone slipping your parents shrooms. You gotta let
he
them
did
know.
But he asked me to hide it and be, you know, a little bit sneaky about it. But I remember sitting across the fire from him that night, and we like made eye contact, and it was just kind of that like non-communicative, like, you tripping, I'm tripping, we're tripping type thing.
Nice.
Okay.
It's pretty great.
All right.
So anyway, I did
White
it.
people.
Can't even remember.
We're talking about for 20 minutes. Oh,
Wait, by the way,
he fucking did. I'm on him right now.
we need to go to her shroom party. Screw JD's.
Jesus Christ.
I'm so down, dude.
I'm texting Ira.
All right, y'all, man. Aftermath podcast. Make sure you share, you subscribe, you like. Make sure you subscribe, though. Appreciate that. Tell all your friends, and we'll have a recap of this, of the shroom party JD is throwing. Right?
My poor father, man. I feel-
Hey, Dad, here's a Lunchable.
Here's an Uncrustable.
The Aftermath.